There's like immigration news and H1B news and so much drama and chaos going on, and people are thinking American dream is over. A lot of them also think about going there because they want to get a job, and there are people who are not able to get jobs. I think what are some like top 5 majors that you see that has the future potential?
I'll tell you the dark sides of it. University admissions understands that a lot of times the professors are not the ones who are writing the LORs.
Yeah, and I think third common mistakes I've seen students make is whatever their consultancies told them.
Most important factor that a lot of times the consultants and the students both misses out, that these scholarships are time bound and their timelines may differ from an application timeline.
Yes.
If you're too late in the application, the scholarship deadline might have already passed.
Correct.
Usually students look at a loan after their offer letter, which leads to a lot of students dropping out because there was no lender for the course that they have applied, or for the university, or even for the country.
Nikhil, thank you so much for being here. I am excited. Welcome to the MPOWER Show. But before we get started, let's do a quick intro for people who may have not seen you or have heard from you.
Absolutely. I am Nikhil. I graduated from IIT BHU, then studied a bit of my time in IIT Bombay and went on to do a full scholarship PhD at Monash University. I missed Australia, I would say Australian journey. That's what I've loved. And while doing my PhD, that's where I started guiding a lot of alma mater. I've been a full scholarship child my entire career, from class 10 to PhD, if you look at it that way. And education has always been a closer topic to me, in general. And while I come from a very humble financial background, education has been one of the means to go and uplift my own conditions. So that has been my journey, and foreign admits is my baby. I started foreign admits 7 years ago during my PhD, and happened to guide a lot of students from IIT Bombay, BHU and other institute. And that led me to the foundation of how education can be made more accessible. And it's been 7 years into the journey, can't complain, loving the journey.
Yeah. Where I want to start is there's so much going on in United States. I want to primarily focus this conversation for United States. I know we're going to talk about different countries, but there's like immigration news and H1B news and so much drama and chaos going on, and people are thinking American dream is over. There's no more American dream, and I get this question asked a lot. So I want to ask you that, is US still the place to be, and should people go to US, and if so, why?
I think let's step back for a bit and try and understand, why do people look to study abroad?
Yeah.
That's a fundamental thing that people first look at before even they look at US. For me and for the likes of students that I've guided, which is approximately more than 3,000 in the last 7 years, people look to go abroad for predominantly 2-3 things. A good quality of education. Certain specializations are not available in India. They want to get into that. Better job opportunities. In India, we still are overcoming the pedigree system, and skill showcasing is still developing. So countries like United States and few other countries have an openness towards better employment. And the third thing is, sometimes people also look at a long-term immigration, where they want to see a country, see the long-term prospects, and if they are able to add to that economy, they want to be a part of it. So these are the major 3 factors. In this United States, I think from last 20-30 years, since I think we've been born, has been one of the dreamland for every international student.
Yeah.
We have lived, the Hollywood era. We see how students go there. We've seen our alumni from colleges building companies. That openness to study in the United States have always been there. Lately, I think it has a lot to do with the way students look at United States, the way that it has been sold. And many of the times it's a preparation or a expectation mismatch which has crippled certain parts in the overall education towards United States. But if you look at the service numbers and few other data, it has still improved year over year, including the last year when all of these noises around media was there. It was more on a crackdown on a less intent immigration. If you're a student genuinely looking to study abroad, predominantly picking United States makes sense if you're looking at tech, AI, healthcare, engineering as a perspective, because hands down, United States has the best education system that students have experienced in past. So I think I would be a pro US. Not like I'm not saying that you don't go to Germany, you don't go to Ireland. Those are also good destination, but every destination comes with their own limitation. And I think language is one of the factors that has grown United States over the years with an openness to inculcate the multicultural diversity, which is what the country has been always popular for.
And but like, I also see that students are struggling to even get jobs. Like, I agree with what you are saying, that it is the like dream. Like, a lot of people do want to go to United States, but then a lot of them also think about going there because they want to get a job. And there are people who are not able to get jobs. Thousands and thousands of students are not able to get a job right now.
True.
I know that there are students who are still getting job offers. So there's like both sides as well. And at the same time, someone might say like, why not go to UK, or why not go to Germany or Australia? So like, yeah, why do you say you are pro US?
Okay. If you look at a job perspective, how do students go matters a lot. It is not like if you go to UK, you will have a plenty of jobs. I can pick up some instances personally that, our couple of team members, we have sent them to UK. And surprisingly, they were the only one person out of 170 students batch who got placed. It has also to do with how do you plan to study abroad for any particular country. And US has been very open about their placement statistics or the information about the jobs. That's why we have been able to talk about, is there a job, is there no jobs? Unlike other countries where the placement statistics are not really public. That's one of the factors. On the other hand, the country immigration policy has a lot to do. US comes with a 1+2, which is a purely, if you look at a STEM perspective, that is what US is popular for. It's a 3 years of post-study work visa, which has been the natural factor for people to explore job options. And there are multiple pathways. Like I was reading the other day, there is an entrepreneur's pathway also, that if you are studying in United States in some top-notch university, you've started a startup which is nowadays growing with the advent of AI, and you got a $250,000 funding, you can get a visa extension in that way. So I think when you look at US, you have to look at multiple factors that helps an international student to stay there, the community that has been growing. But I would not say that other countries have not done a pure justice. If someone who do not have a very high budget of education and there maybe loan support is not there, for a lot of other countries, you don't have no cosigner loan supports, right? So in those cases, naturally the students picks up those countries. And then certain countries are being missold towards a long-term immigration perspective, which is not what US is for. US is a global degree. You would see, if you're sitting in Bangalore, a lot of CXOs and CTOs, VCs are ex-US graduates. They didn't settle in US. They work there for a year or 2 or 3, and then they explore the global pathways. And naturally, US alumni distribution supports that. So when people look at US, they are not the ones who are looking to just do an immigration. They are the ones who want to build their careers, and that is where US has been a growing destination. However, recession is something that doesn't cater or care about which country you are. Every country goes through a recession. We have seen a 2008, we have seen 2012 also, we've seen 2020, the COVID era, where study abroad itself was no more there. And then we have seen the highs also in 2022, where a record number of students went abroad. So the journey of employment has a lot to do with how industries are growing. Yes, a typical degree does not get you a job. If you're not learning the skills like AI, or you're not into the industry of semiconductors or healthcare, which naturally an employment industry needs, then you're not. If you're into like a race of the same kind of a degree or same kind of a thing, you're just one out of a million crowd. For employers, you need to think, if they have too many options among the candidates, naturally the selection choices will drop. And that's one of the major factors, which is not only in US, it is also there in India. We have a huge amount of talent or potential talent looking to apply for the same job. So you have to distribute your choices when you look at United States, or for a matter of fact, let's say pick Germany. If you're going towards mechanical, Germany has been always a very popular destination for an affordable mechanical degree or automobiles. Similarly, in Italy or France, if you look at finance, France is one of the good things, or fashion is one of the areas. Non-STEM usually not goes to US, they prefer some other areas. So that is how. But if you're looking at AI, tech, or purely STEM areas, US is one of the options that you can't rule out, because hey, the education system, the overall experience, the exposure, the co-op opportunities that you get in some of the Boston-based universities, that is very, very good. So I think this is my personal experience of talking to the kids.
Yeah.
But certainly,
No, I think it makes sense what you're saying, because I've seen students who are in India are still not able to get jobs. So it's not like, oh, you're just gonna get jobs in US, and US job market is bad. Market could be bad anywhere else that you go to as well. Okay, let's assume that we are going to US, and now I want to make sure that I go to the best institute and I maximize my education while I'm going there. I'm gonna primarily focus on masters, but sure, I'm sure this applies to undergrad as well.
True.
So first is, what is the typical timeline that I should be looking at? Like, what's the master timeline? Like, if you do this, this is the best for you.
Okay. So I think US intakes are predominantly two, which is fall, which is in September, October, or spring, which is January. Okay. And most of the students usually prefer fall because of the whole OPT issues, so that you are able to clear your CPT period and then you can get an internship outside the campus. So fall is the intake that you should ideally target. Now, if you look at a fall intake, which is, let's say, September 2026, so the best timelines that ideally that the student should follow, they should get done with the tests by somewhere around July, August at max, so that you have ample amount of time to research, shortlist the universities, speak to the alumni, attend their university days, speak to the universities, on depth, and then you are able to shortlist the universities by September, and then you are able to make an early applications. Now, why I always stress upon early applications? If you want to stand out, be it admissions or jobs, you have to start early, so that you have ample amount of time that tomorrow, if you don't get an admit from one of the top-notch universities that you dreamt of, the second option you still have available. So by October, November, or December at max, you should be done with all your applications. By January to Feb, you would ideally get, it takes 6 to 10 weeks for US university to process the applications and to give you a decision. Once you get a decision, then you can apply for financing options, or meanwhile you will have time to explore scholarships. Like, there are plenty of scholarships that you explore, be it on campus or general, like Fulbrights or MPOWER scholarships. So there are many scholarships that you can always explore. And then you can look for financing, get your I-20 by early March or mid-March, and then you have time to get into that visa slot perspective. Because over the years, I think a lot of students were struggling in those slots. But the students, if you see from this year trajectory, pre-April, the students have already gotten the slots. They had a higher visa success.
Yes. Yeah.
Post-April, you would see the mass coming in.
And then there was also the no slots were available.
Because that's something you can't control. So it's better to try early, so that by May, June, you're done with your interviews and you can fly then. And maybe a couple of months you can spend time learning more about the alumni, more about the college, the curriculum, so that you're pre-prepared when you get to the 2 years of or 1 year of marathon in US.
Yeah, I love it. I love this timeline. So I also teach my students the same kind of timeline, that this is the timeline that people should follow. There's one thing that is interesting that you mentioned, and maybe we should emphasize this, is that priority deadlines for universities. Yes, there are certain universities, or almost all of them, will have deadlines, like the first deadline, which is a priority, and then there's like a deadline which is February, March, or something like that. Why should people target priority deadlines? Should they even target that?
I think it has one thing that I can talk about, given that I've seen how the fund allocation happens in universities for scholarships, or the seat limitation intake. Certain courses or certain universities, you will have a limited seats. In that also, if a university have a diversity bifurcation for Indian students, you will again have a slightly smaller batch for a university to take it. In those cases, admission chances will go difficult if you do delay, because universities are doing on rolling basis review, so you will have a better chance to get an admit, number one. Number two, your scholarship funding that you have a chance to explore in the university will also be there, because let's say departmental funding is getting allocated for maybe, let's say, $10 million. $10 million will be for a certain specific amount of students that they want. If you're first in the queue and you have the right profile, there's a higher chance that you may get some kind of a scholarship. So I think those are the areas that helps in early, and at the same time safeguarding that if you want to apply at certain safe options also, you have some times available in the later
and it's opposite also is true from a university standpoint, where they are also trying to recruit the students, so they want to lock you in by providing scholarship. That hey, don't go anywhere else, come to us, here's a scholarship. So okay, I also want to break down every single step that you mentioned, from shortlisting to GRE to all of those things. So let's start with GRE first, because I think that's a hot topic. Optional, not required, required. What's you've been seeing in the market, like when it says optional, should people really do it or not?
I think it again boils down to the factor, what is your profile? If your profile lacks a good academic score, how do you demonstrate to the university that you have good quantitative or aptitude insights? In that case, GRE adds a massive value. At the certain times when you're applying to a very competitive university like the UC groups and all, you would see every other student might have had a GRE just to showcase, which is an additional factor. So certain times GRE do create a positive impact. It also let the university knows that you are a very highly qualified student. So it's an additional factor in certain university. Certain university where there's a mandate thing, you definitely have to give. And for that preparation also, you would need ideally 2-3 months. So I think GRE is a no-brainer question that you should try and give. Unless you have a very, very good profile, you have some research papers, probably a 9.5 GPAs, and have done some really good internship, and there is a waiver of GRE, then you can definitely take a shot. Like we have seen admits in Duke and all without GRE also, but those are very good profiles. For an average profile, GRE is a very good support to crack a better admission.
So it's if you're confident in your overall profile, then GRE can be an optional. But if you feel like, oh, this can help you elevate, getting a good GRE score will help you. Okay, so now the other important question is, before you start SOPs and LORs, which is the typical application process documents that you would require, should people figure out the university and the programs they are going to before they start this process, or when should they start? Like, what comes first?
I think first is your target destination universities and the courses.
Okay,
that's the first thing that you should plan for, because even the GRE can come slightly later on that note.
Got it.
So first things first is which I think the way that you have to look at it, I'll try to structure it in this way, is what kind of jobs or careers that you want to get in. Then you do a reverse calculation. If you want to get into AI, then what are the subjects or the skill sets that you would need? If these are the skills, then which programs or degrees gives you the skills? That is how you make yourself relevant to your career. And these programs and degrees combined with the location, which also plays a very good role for the local hirings. So California, let's say if you pick it up, there are certain places where you get an access easily to the Google or the Microsoft offices, right? Or the startup hubs easily. So those location factor, then the job oriented degree factor, and then comes the eligibility factor. So once you have done a top line research of these 50 universities and courses that you're interested in, then you just do a basic black and white matchmaking of the eligibilities. Are you clearing them? Then you look at the overall SOP in terms of how do you double click on those course, whether this course makes sense for you or not. And then what you've realized is what you emulate in your SOP.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. So you're saying, okay, if I want to be a product manager or an AI product manager, because that's the buzz right now. So I should look at which programs are gonna, like, okay, that's what I want to do, which programs are gonna help me get there, which universities are known for that program, and now I have a list of 15 universities, and then I start the shortlisting process that, okay, this is way too out of my budget, this is in my budget, I love it because it's close to the location, and so on and so forth. So now I'll have like a list of 10 universities, and then you start with the GRE, TOEFL, whatever, and then you start the SOP process. In your opinion, like, what do you think, what are some like top 5 majors that you see that has the future potential?
I think interdisciplinary skill-based programs has one of the best potential. Computational biology, I'll just pick up one example where you have an insight of computer science and life science. So all of the things are going towards AI or tech. Even if you look at a very traditional degree like a mining or petroleum, with AI, that is a really high view. So application oriented degrees are more in demand. Number 2 is healthcare. Post-COVID, healthcare has seen a surge because most countries have realized a shortage of skilled healthcare workforce. So if you are into healthcare administration or healthcare management or doing deeper
for
research in
US,
healthcare,
yeah.
even for US.
Okay.
So even if you are studied in US in healthcare, you are globally a red hot talent. You can get jobs at most places, and US degrees have a global recognition. So tech, purely in the applied tech, healthcare, and then quantum computing or silicon or the semiconductor industry, which is again, so there is a skill shortage list for every country. You may want to Google that out. And in those, there are certain skill sets that the country wants from international talents. If you are able to get a degree around that, the chances of your long-term future is also sorted.
Got it. Okay. So you mentioned 3 or 4 kind of majors, but of course I want to let people know that they should not think of like, oh, this is the 4 majors, so I should go. They should go where they really want to, or what they are passionate about. Okay. So now comes the whole application process. In my opinion, it requires resume, SOP, LORs. These are the 3 most important. Of course, there's transcripts and the other things that they may require. Is there like a weightage, like you should resume is the highest, then SOP and then LORs, or SOP, resume, LORs? How do you think about those things?
I think, prospectively speaking, even a lower GPA, when you look at resume, it's basically a culmination of the activities that you would have done before you have applied for masters, which could be a set of internships and probably some projects, academic courses. I think those are the things that do takes one of the highest weightages. If you got a good GPA, really good internships in past, it naturally translates to a good LOR. Because a good internship and a good GPA, professors will be writing you a very strong LOR. So resume and LOR goes hand in hand. But sometimes where the GPA or the university or the course is average, you may not have done too many internships, But then in that case, your SOP brings a clarity to the admission committee. Because what they require is not you are a scientist right now, but what do you really want to do in your career? From the time that you have chosen this university to the time that you graduate. So I think SOP plays sometimes an X factor, but a decent GPA and overall karma, that what I talk to my students is about your karma. Try to ensure that your karmas are aligned. If your karma, which is your resume, which is not aligned, then you have to really work hard on your SOP. You have to really bring that insight that why do you really want to do? And for a lot of students, it matters a lot because they want a second start. That you might have done mechanical engineering, but you're not really interested in mechanical. You want to do something in AI. Then how do you plan yourself to get into AI? That is what an SOP would help you translate better.
Got it. Okay. And if you were to give like a 1-minute masterclass on resume, that this is how I would structure my resume for admissions, what that look like?
I think the first line is star format, that you have to always focus on your resume. Bring out data, quantitative and insights to what you have done and why you have done. The reasoning is usually missed out in most of the resumes that we see. And keep it very neat, short, 1-pager. I would say even the vice chancellor of a university with 30 years of experience has a 1-pager resume. You can always make one.
Nice. So 1-page resume, star format, quantification. What about like the structure? Is it education first, so name and header, then education, then skills, or is it
No,
work
I'll try
experience?
to structure it in this way. Name, basic details, and education. You can keep it on first. Then you pick up the best section that you have.
Mhm.
Not everyone have best internship, but they have done really good projects. Then you start off with projects. Then you go into the internship. If you have done really good internship, try to highlight them. Try and understand they got a
Or
30
work
seconds.
experience if people
Correct.
have work experience. Yeah.
Exactly. Try and understand the reviewer would have a 30 seconds to max a minute to glance through your resume. You want to give your best inputs on the top and in the left. There's a format in Google on writing a resume. The left and the topmost are the ones which has been read first. So whatever best that you want to put in is always on the left and the top. That is how you want to structure your resume. So there is no set standard format.
Yep.
But yes, if you want to pick it up, name, education, projects or work-ex, internships, then probably some research papers if you have done, and then the skills.
Love it. Okay. Now, same, can we do a masterclass on statement of purpose? It is the most important document, I feel like, when it comes to you describing your story to an admission officer. Like, what is your strategy that this is what we would recommend to the students to get admits, and this is how they should structure it?
Okay, I can be very philosophical and say be original. But one, I would say that I would say is don't start with something hit on my head or I envisioned in my class 2 that this is what I wanted to do.
Right.
Because most admission officers have realized that this is a tactic. So be original. Even it's a slightly broken story that in third year you would have realized that this is what you wanted to pursue. Then what and all things that you did.
After
It is basically your
realization.
story that you're translating from, let's say, a BTech or a BCom first year to the final year, what you have done, and maybe if you have done WorkX, why you have done. So what and all things you have done and why you have done, and is that aligning to the course and the degree that you are pursuing, and why you have chosen that university, what is that, what you're looking from that university. That's a clear ask. And then once you have graduated, what is your next set of plans? So that is the progression. So it basically starts with what you're choosing. Why
Can we
you-
do the paragraphs? Like,
Okay.
let's
Yeah.
do the same the way that you did, like resume. Can we do SOP as well? Like, how many paragraphs is there? Like a standard, like you would say, like 5, 6, and then the first paragraph this much.
Okay, I would avoid that, unfortunately. The reason being, the best of the SOPs that we have seen is half a page to 2 pages also.
Sure.
Usually, not more than 2 pages is a good thing.
Yeah.
Usually, not more than 1,000 words is a great thing. Some universities may want to ask even in lesser words.
Yeah.
So that you have to always navigate.
Yeah.
The other thing is don't cram everything in the SOP. You have a resume for that. Okay. Then you start with what you are trying to do. Then you come into why you believe you have been the best person to pick up that. Then you come into why you have chosen a particular university for which you are writing an SOP and that very course. What got you intrigued or connected to that course. Then you pick up what you want to do after your graduation. That's how the 4 standard thing. Now, if you have to still break it down further, you start with a connecting anecdote. Then you boil down to how you have prepared yourself to pursue a career, not that course. Try and understand, course is not the end point. The career is the thing that you want to pursue from that course. So how have you prepared yourself, be it your BTech first year or high school or college,
internships, volunteers.
correct, what and all factors, but stay relevant. If you have done 10 different things which doesn't relate to that, there's no point mentioning that, because at the start of the career, everyone understand that you were not thoroughly planned. You have tried your hands, but this is where you learn, this is what you want to do.
Got it.
Then you relate to, once you have done that, then you realize there is a need for an education. One of the most important thing that students usually miss, showcasing why do they need to do masters. So that need has to be justified, why there's a need for masters. Then what's the thing that they liked in that very university and course which they believe could help them
To
solve
get to
their
that
own
end point.
problems
Yeah.
and then once they have graduated, how would they gonna go next in their career? So I think this is the flow.
Yeah,
that we
and
look
also
at.
like how they add value to the university
Oh yes,
as well.
absolutely, great add-on.
Yeah.
So how they add value, it has to be there.
Yeah, amazing, great. I mean, I'm gonna repeat the same thing for LORs because I know some universities ask for 1, 2, 3,
Correct.
but the important question is, who do you ask for? I think people tend to think the higher I'm gonna ask from like a CEO or a founder, that means the best LOR, or I'm gonna ask from a professor. Like, how should people think about who the LOR should be from?
Okay, I'll give you some real example-based thing. If you have done research under a professor, that's a best person. The second one could be a professor under whom you have scored good grades, or an HOD with whom you have done some interactions. An LOR is a fundamental thing why a person is writing an LOR. I'll tell you the dark sides of it. University admissions understands that a lot of times the professors are not the ones who are writing the LORs. The students are the ones who are writing the LORs. Then they look at the natural anecdotes of Connect. That for what reason there is an LOR. Oh, this is the best student of my class? No. That's a simple red flag in an LOR. So let's say if I pick up my LOR, which got me 7 full scholarship PhDs, the professor simply wrote that I came from mining and I wanted to explore geomechanics. I had my own research. And then he did a 3 months of internship in an IIT under that professor, where he was working almost 17 hours a day. Even he didn't care about going to hostels when there was a simulation going on in the computer. And at the end of the 3rd month, I never imagined that this person might lead to some kind of a research. But he ended up publishing a paper also with me. And that was me understanding that how passion can, overcome other barriers. So that one statement changed the whole perspective. So when you look at LOR, I think it is about the engagements that you have done with the professor. On that engagement
it's how
basis,
well that person knows you.
Correct.
And can vouch for you. So like, it doesn't matter that it has to be a CEO, because CEO of a $100 million company might never interact with you.
Correct.
So yeah, you have a brand of CEO, but it would be much better to have it from a director or a supervisor who actually have seen you and promoted
Correct.
you multiple times and given you star performance award or something like that. And same with the professors, like you mentioned.
Yes, and adding to that, same with the internships. If you've done an internship or even a volunteering, I remember some of the students who even got some of the top-notch scholarships in the top 5 universities in the United States. They've gotten the LOR from their volunteering experiences. So that added a lot of value. So even if you've done volunteering or internships or a project with someone, that LOR will always rank better. Yes, in that case, if you have done work with some of the CEOs, it's always a cherry on a pie. But don't obsess over the highest authority giving a weaker LOR, rather than your direct authority person with whom you have spoken to or worked with giving you a better personalized LOR.
Okay. Now that I've done all of this, comes the whole actual applying and then also choosing a university. Hopefully you get an admits and you are applying. But it all comes down to, where are you applying? And then that's the most common question I get asked all the time, is like brand versus like an average university, top ranking versus mid ranking. What's your perspective on this?
I think I had a change of heart in my own career, wherein I think I got a full scholarship from an Australian university versus a US university versus a UK university. The way that I picked up helped me later prove myself that that was a great decision. A lot of times we obsess over rankings. One should never do that, because department in a particular university, let's say there's a university in United States in some part of Nebraska, their particular department is really very famous for a particular research. So that is where you have to look at it. Okay. The other thing is picking a university basis on what you really want to do as a course, which is what we talked about. Course, why? For a job or a skill that you want to acquire, and then that university interactions with the industry, the career center, the industry and university interactions, alumni network. One of the best things to pick a university is how good is their course alumni network. Okay. Then comes the location of the industry around the university. Are you closely located with the similar kind of employers that you want to tomorrow work with or interact with? These are the factors that help. Now again, every university will come with some plus, some minuses. That is where you have to think, okay, this is the minus that you want to risk and this is the plus that you're banking upon. Never regret the choices that you make, because that will spoil your 2 years that you want to invest. And funding, yes, the way that some of my students actually taught me this is, I'm going to choose a university where lenders believe they have a better interest rates or approval rates. I'm like, why? Then he mentioned that if a lender thinks of that university graduates have a better payback time, which means I am certain to get my job. Given a macro statistic, though it's not a micro, but it's a macro statistic. Then it got me thinking that, hey, if a lender tracks data like a no cosigner loan where you have a very riskiest loan, right? There is no collateral, there is no guarantor. And if they are giving you a loan and then they understand from this kind of university the paybacks have been consistent, that's why they're giving you a loan. So that is one of the factors that you can always add on to it.
Right. And just like in MPOWER's case, they also have a risk model, right? Like, I mean, they've been studying the model so much that they understand if a student goes to Purdue University, they are bound to pay off the loan. So that's why it's a good university. That's like an example.
Correct.
But I love what you said. A university in Nebraska might have a program which is very well known, but they won't have the top ranking. And you might miss out on that good program because you just focused on the ranking. So I completely, like, 100% align with how you are thinking about university selection. Yeah, like I have this spreadsheet. I'll put it in the description for people to download. But essentially, it is like 15 factors, like cost, location, and then program, alumni, where are they working on, like what is the jobs that I'm going to get. Do they have co-ops? Do they have internships? Like where do people end up actually working in this? And all of those things, and cost of living. And so then they actually can compare these 15 universities or 10 universities, and then they can start stack ranking it. Like, okay, I have these 3 which are like really, really good. If I get into this, then I'll really think about it.
Okay. And I think one of the most important factors that certain times students pick it up, rather 2 factors, is where my friends are going. Never do that. And then, is the cost too high? It's a very sensitive factor. Sometimes some of the universities, because of the location and the prior employment, the tuition fees are high. But in that case, you have loan, you have scholarships to be able to negotiate with that factor. You can always opt for that. If you believe, and again, there's a reverse analogy also. Certain universities do not have a very high cost, but then students frown upon that. It's a so low cost university, why should I study there? So you shouldn't factor cost as a matter of reputation or unaffordability. You should look at all other factors and then see a cost and then try to mitigate that.
Yeah, and I think third common mistakes I've seen students make is whatever their consultancies told them. So, it's a classic where, again, I understand consultants is a business to run, but they also, I don't know if they are thinking the best intention for you sometimes. They are pushing to you to certain university because they might be getting money because of you. So you also should really ask them, like, why should I go there, man? And not just blindly follow that path.
Yeah, I think the key add-on pointers is, we are living in a world of perplexities and GPTs, right? Whatever anyone tells you, can you do a bit of fact check and do it, right? Earlier Google search was there. I understand a lot of people are not very good with Google, but Perplexity is a great tool to try and check it out, right? So you can always do a fact check and re-verification and ask those hard questions with a consultant. No offense to the consultants, but you need to understand that they are not the ones who are going to study there. You are the ones who are going to, you have to take charge of it. You cannot be a spoon-fed kid whatever the consultant says, you just blindly follow them. You have to also understand what grounds are they understanding you better, are they understanding your constraints better. So that is where you have a better symbiotic relationship with the consultant to be able to make a good admit for you. So that's my answer.
I love it. Cool. Now that they have admit, I'm like, okay, I got it in my dream university. I loved it. Now they have to prepare for visa, which is the hardest thing I feel to crack, because it's the final hurdle that you have to crack before you go to United States. I guess there's one other thing that you also mentioned before we go to visa is scholarship. You said there are a bunch of scholarship. Of course, MPOWER has like 6 of them, if I'm not wrong. But like, what are the other scholarship and how can people get those?
I think the best way that I recently discovered, and I wrote a newsletter on it as an international student who want to get best scholarships, is a simple Perplexity search. The best way to discover a personalized, you enter your profile, ask Perplexity, what are the scholarship that matches my interest? You would quickly get a list of insights. That way you have a bunch of scholarship which are eligible, targeted and tailored to you and your interest. The other thing is, definitely when you're applying to the university, there is a scholarship page for them, there's a financial aid page for them. You can always get into that. There are certain scholarships. Two most important factors that a lot of times the consultants and the students both misses out, that these scholarships are time bound and their timelines may differ from an application timeline. If you're too late in the application, the scholarship deadline might have already passed.
Correct.
So you need to ensure that certain scholarship opens up at the time of application, certain scholarship opens up after you've made an application, certain scholarship opens up after you've gotten an offer. And in that also they have a deadline which may be pre-offer, which means if you have applied late, your offer came late, that scholarship is gone. And a lot of times people misses out. So that is one thing. Definitely MPOWER scholarship is there. Fulbright is one of the best ones known in the industry. There's a Gates Melinda Foundation scholarships. Then you have for Tata, there's a Cornell scholarship that you get. Then you have Dhirubhai Ambani Stanford scholarships. So there are a bunch of scholarships. The only thing is you have to discover.
Right? Yeah, I've made like a 25-minute long video on this scholarship as well, and same thing like a Perplexity type of thing. But the scholarship that you mentioned are like, a lot of them are in India, but then there is like a Taco Bell scholarship. Like nobody knew that there's a Taco Bell scholarship. There's a STEM, women in STEM scholarship, and there's so many scholarships even in United States which are eligible for international students. So there's like a Hispanic and other scholarship that you can also apply as an international student. So like bunch of organization, T-Mobile has a scholarship. So
correct.
So like I think it's the key point here is look for it and do the research. No one is going to do it for you. You will have to do it on your own. Great. Now before visa, we should also talk about funding, which is like very important. Like you need money to go. How do you think about like loan? Like people think about should they get it? Should they not get it? I mean, of course, if they don't have money, they will have to get it. But then some are skeptical about like different lenders that are available. Like how should they pick their lender?
I think this is one of the things that we try to defer, in the industry. Usually students look at a loan after their offer letter, which leads to a lot of students dropping out because there was no lender for the course that they have applied, or for the university, or even for the country. We built at Foreign Admits, we actually built a product which helps you pre-assess, even at the time of application, whether for these kind of university you have a lender to fund or not, which was also inspired by the MPOWER, loan checker, and it is very popular in Africa, where MPOWER is the leading lender. And I actually got to know from a couple of students that they only apply to the university after checking their loan eligibility on MPOWER. So those are the ways that you should first ensure when you are applying to the university. Certainly in the United States, you have more lenders opening up to give you loans, and definitely there will not be a shortage, hopefully, but your prior credit history, your parents' credit history, all of these things matter. And a lot of times the students come from low middle class background, where they do not have a parents which is very strong in credit history. There might be certain loan defaults and all. In those cases, you seem lost. In that case, I think a low cosigner loan is one of the best way to fund your education.
Yeah.
The way that I see it, your parents are not held in that loan. You do not hold anyone accountable. You are taking a loan on you, and you are able to pay. And God forbid, if something happens to you, at least you have parents who can then take a loan and then help you, right? So I think that's the best way that I suggest to be financially more prudent, more dependent on yourself, and take a no cosigner loan in that general perspective. But again, not everyone is filled for it. Then you have other lenders. There are very good Indian lenders also, but you can always look at loan options. But then the paperworks and all, you have to manage it. In fact, we built a product in that sense also, where you can quickly assess, evaluate, and quickly apply. But yeah, one of the two major factors that in loan, what most people don't understand, and sometimes they are missold, because in India, misinformation is very much of a problem, is the interest rates. How the interest rate and the spread works. Many of the times they don't understand the spread, that, I'm getting a loan at 11%, but there's a 3% spread that I never knew. Then the remittance and the insurance and XYZ things that gets added into the loan.
Fees. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I remember a student who was taken a loan of 40 lakhs has been given 4 lakhs of add-ons added into the loan. For what reason? I think those are the things that students usually misses out, that they need to be open. And yes, you are taking a loan from a lender, but you have all the rights to ask these questions. So don't shy in asking these questions, because these are the things that will help you protect your future first.
Yeah. Cool. We have everything ready. We're at the visa window. I am nervous. I don't know what the heck is going to happen. What's your masterclass on how to crack F1 visa interview if you were to give up?
I think 2 years before you would have talked something different, but with the whole change in the visa application journey, which for a matter of fact is actually good. US immigration is cracking down on the tentatively less intended potential immigrants, which can become an illegal immigrant. That's why they've improved their visa scrutiny. The most important thing is the DS-160. Fill out the DS-160 most honestly in the best possible way. Do not hide information, because they will figure it out. They will find it out. The social media profiles, the Reddit profiles, all of the social media where you had been, try to mention all the email IDs wherever you've been. Try to mention them, because they would anyway have an access. So it's better to be honest. DS-160 leads to an I-20. With I-20 you lead to DS-160. Once you have filled the DS-160, then you pay your MRV fee, and now there's an integrity fee also that you would be liable to pay. Slightly a pinch on the pocket. But in those cases, it's better to get your first shot right, because else you keep on paying $185 again and again. There's no point that way. And try and apply early. As we talked about in admissions, same happens in visas. The slots are limited. And try and understand there are B1, F1, F2. Then you have now the Dropbox is now converting into an interview. So the slots will go limited for F1 also. The good part is you have a preference for F1 among the embassy. So they prefer F1 first. But still the volume is very high. So try and apply for the slot early. And then prepare for your interview. The DS-160 and your visa interview is actually linked. Whatever you're filling in DS-160, they would get to know. The officer wants to understand how you are prepared for it, what is the real reason to go to the United States, and what you want to do after studying there. If they see a potential thought that, okay, you want to stay there, you would have applied for a proper other way of immigration, not as a study. Don't disguise that way. So better you prepare for yourself to be able to answer those things confidently, with clarity. Do not speak too much. Listen to the question, then answer precisely, and then shut up. And these are the major things that you have to follow. Do not listen to every rumor on the Reddit or some community, someone said so. Do not listen to that. These are cherry-picked advices which may hamper. I've seen a lot of Ivy League students also getting visa rejection because they listen to some community advice of not to showcase their loan sanction letter, which they had in hand, and they were not able to defend how they're going to fund the $200,000 degree. So these are the things, and we built actually Visa Monk last year, a product to help kids to prepare for visa interview, so that they don't do flaws in the real interview. It's like a net practice, right? Before you go and play an actual match. So what my advice is.
Amazing. Um, Before we wrap, how does foreign admits help students? Do they like directly talk to students, help them, or how does foreign admits play in the?
So we are in a slightly larger ecosystem. We help counselors and consultants to help those students. However, we have a digital platform where students can do a quick discovery of the universities that they are eligible for. Instead of wasting weeks of time, it hardly required 2 minutes. Enter your basic details. We have built an algorithm that figures and finds out all possible eligible universities for you. You can do your applications, manage the applications, find scholarship. We recently launched a personalized scholarship finder tool. It's like finding a needle in a haystack for you, right? And then we launched our loan product where, as I talked about, that before admission, you can actually check your loan. And one of the most important thing in loan that student faces is spam calls. Our product is essentially ensures that you know where your loan application has gone to, which person in that bank or lender is handling your application, so that you get a clarity of how it is processed and purely digital, no visits. And then final thing that we especially built for US, because we realize how much effort that the student puts in for the 9-12 months for their US visas, and they get rejected because they followed some wrong PDF, they mugged up the answers, they were misguided by some community. So we launched one of the world's first AI powered US visa interview practice platform, which helps you get the most mimicked experience like an actual visa interview. So you can do mock practices, you have, I would say, eligibility to fail, to learn, and build your temperament so that you can go for an actual visa interview. So that way you get a complete package.
Amazing. Before we wrap, any final words of wisdom for students who are planning to go, skeptical, or already going? What's the one advice would you give them?
I would say try and talk to the alumni. Don't just listen to media. One of the most scariest factor that we have seen is people reading the headlines but not between the fine prints. You have your own career. No one else decides your career. You have to take a charge for your own career. If you are ready for that, go explore. US, or even matter of fact, other countries are really good destinations. Better not being being a jobless here. You upskill yourself, ensure that you are in a position to get a better job. Even if you come back, you have a better job in India also.
Amazing. Love it. Awesome. Nikhil, thank you so much for doing this. I love the whole journey that we have explored. And I know there's so much more, but I don't want to go on and on. But I will bring you back. But until our next one.
Keep smiling and keep hustling.
Nice.